guys, I'm out here in the woods today to let you know some exciting news. I just found out that our property here got accepted into the MFTIP program. And what does that stand for? Well, that's a Managed Forest Tax Incentive Program. So today I'm standing here in a beautiful part of our property. It's a cedar swamp. It's pretty old actually. I think it's around a few hundred years old. So this is really special. It's important wildlife habitat, and I hope to preserve this for years to come. You know, cedar's great for building things. It's gorgeous stuff. However, you know, in this stand here, I really wouldn't want to chop all of it down. You may end up with a lot of weed trees and things coming in. It'd be very hard to replicate this again. So we're going to leave it be, and I'll tell you all about the MFTIP program coming up. So I got my approval in the mail this week, which was really exciting news. The process to enter into the MFTIP program has taken about a year to complete. So I first heard about the MFTIP program at a local landowners association meeting. So at the meeting, a member of the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forests came to talk about the program. So basically the program is designed to build upon and educate landowners on proper forest stewardship, and to recognize that a lot of Ontario forests are owned privately and benefit all of Ontarians. And so basically what this project does is help you learn about proper forest stewardship, and it's a 10-year program. So in the 10 years, basically you're doing things to improve the forest that you own. So by that, you can put trails in, monitor wildlife, take firewood responsibly, harvest trees responsibly for profit if you wish as well. Also, putting up bird houses, mammal houses like martin nest boxes, things like that are all considered eligible tasks for your MFTIP program. And that benefits all of Ontarians if you basically keep your forest healthy. Forests are very, very important to us all. So the benefit also to me directly is that the property will now be taxed at 25% of the municipal tax rate. So there's a very significant tax break as well. So that's incentive as well to do the program. And we were already doing a lot of things that would qualify for good forestry management at the property here. So I thought, be a great program to enter, and also will help reduce our taxes as well. Criteria to enter in the program is that you must own property in Ontario and be a Canadian citizen, and it cannot be licensed for aggregate use. So if you have a pit or a mine on the property, it's not eligible. Also, it cannot be owned municipally or federally, but it can be owned by a conservation authority. As for the forest part of your property must be about 4 hectares or 9.88 acres. It excludes an acre, which can have your cabin or your house on it. So basically, if we have 170 acres, I can only 169 acres of forest is covered by the MFTIP program. Also, there is a minimum number of trees per acre that you must have for the program. And forgive me, I totally forget the number right now. But as you can see, well, at least in this part of the property, there's plenty of trees to be considered a forest. So we have a number of different compartments of forest in the woods. And, part of your MFTIP plan, you have to assess your forest or have it assessed. So figure out the different areas of forest that you have, the types of trees, the basal area of the trees, and then discuss sort of how you plan to manage those areas over the next 10 years of the program. So your program, your plan for your land has to be approved by an approved forester. You can do the plan yourself, but a forester has to sign off on it. And since I don't know a ton about forestry, I did hire a forester to come on out. Little chickadees have found me. I hired a forester. They're like trying to photobomb this YouTube session or something. Anyway, so basically we hired a forester to come out. It was last fall, and assess the property. Our application for the program went in on June the 30th. So let me show you a little bit about what we did to have the forester assess the woods. So with the forester, you're going to go walk through all the segments of your woods. Basically, he picked 35 or 36 locations throughout our property just to get a general sense of what everything is about in here. We found some trees that we were not expecting. We found some black cherry. He educated us more, on this cedar swamp. We also have a lot of young and regenerative forest here, so a lot of aspen and birches and things like that. We also have a fair amount of hardwood here too, which is a bonus. So your maples and things like that, and your oaks. So he divided things up into different compartments, and then we sat down together to discuss our goals. And he helped a lot with that. He's got a lot of information there and a lot of resources that I'll show you. One benefit of having him out was he also put together a really awesome plan for us in a book. And the information you get is, from one of these guys and gals is just invaluable. I learned so much about trees around here when I went out with the forester. Very cool. And I've also marked off some really significant trees as well. You also think too that, standing dead trees aren't important, and they really are important. He said we had a lot that would be useful for, the pileated woodpeckers and things like that. A lot of cavity trees for both mammals and birds that like to nest in there. So very cool. And also we talked a lot about, deadfall. We have a fair amount of deadfall here, as you can see, but that's important firewood as well. And we were out in the woods too. We went with him and we selected, particular trees. He used a very special prism to select trees for our survey. We had a survey done of the trees in the different compartments. And we measured the trees at chest height to get the basal area. So that tells you, just the amount of wood that you have here, if it is significant for making some money and stuff like that. So there's some areas that we had a lot of basal area. So that's really cool. Got some pretty old balsam poplar here in this area as well. A couple of them are dead, but this big guy here in the center is very much alive. So let's take a look at the forestry plan. So we've got this binder here of all the info. It basically details the location of the property, the features that are there. Also discusses some of the species at risk, which can be found in this area that we'd be working to conserve with this program. So I'll just show you those. So here we are with some of the species at risk. You can see the barn owl, bald eagle. Definitely seen bald eagles here. Loggerhead shrike, which we have those hawthorn trees, which are very helpful for their survival. Also talks about snakes and lizards and plants and lichens and all those good things too. And here we're talking about, detailed property objectives that we have. And, important to us are environmental protection, recreation, wildlife habitat, and nature appreciation. Less so on forest products and investment. We do have some trees here that can be used for money in time, but I'd like to let them get bigger before we begin the harvest. For now, it'd be selective harvesting. Select some trees that we really want to get nice and big and be useful in the future for financial gain, and sort of get rid of some weed trees and other trees around them that may be choking them out and preventing them from growing to their full potential. And there is a way to do that, and with this program you get lots of educational tools to help you with your woodlot management. So in this section right here you can see we're detailing the trees that we have on the property here. And there he lists the trees of Eastern Ontario. And here it talks a bit about the type of soil and moisture class we have here. It's called the Tweed Rock Complex. Yeah, I never would have known that, but it is. So it's a mix of sandy loams, rock outcrops, muck, and peat. And so it has very irregular topography and lots of steep slopes and things like that. This is the interesting part. He compartmentalized different acres of the forest and discuss them, and as listed here below you can see the species composition as well as the basal area, and it discusses how many large saw logs we have and small saw logs. So for example, in compartment H1 of the property, it's 25 acres, it's sandy loam, moderately drained, flat to rolling with good access, and discusses that there's poplar, balsam, fir, white birch, mixed wood stand on dry to moderately fresh soils. It's a lot of big forestry terms there, but it's very useful to know that information. So this area discusses where I am right now. It's compartment C2. It's about 26 acres of organic soil, poorly drained, good access with flat topography, and it's white cedar dominated with wet organic soils and some areas of fresh mineral soils, high levels of sphagnum and feather mosses. So what's very interesting to us, we found out, is that he assesses this forest to be about 150 plus years old, with the average height of 18 meters. And our goal in this section, as you can see, is environmental protection, allow natural regeneration to maintain forest health. So we decided not to touch this area to remove cedars from it for building. There are other areas here where we have smaller cedar trees that we'll let grow as well, and maybe we'll harvest selectively from those areas, but I certainly don't want to destroy this beautiful part of the property. And the compartment analysis goes on. The final one I'll show you here is the one for the field. He was actually pretty impressed with the field. He was impressed that there was a lot of young regenerative white pine in there. So we got about 6 acres there with sandy loam, and he took a picture of what it looks like now. So that's pretty cool. I know there'll be big changes in the future there. We definitely plan on wanting those white pine to grow up really well, and we've planted more, as you know, by the road. So it'll look quite different in 10 years, that's for sure. As you know, I'm big into monitoring wildlife already, so we've got documented species that I have seen here, and we're going to continue to do that as part of our MFTIP program. So basically, the summary at the end of this binder here is the 10-year activity plan. So from 2017 to 2026, this is what we plan to do. So all compartments for recreation, and what's really neat is he put links to ways to develop trails and maintain them. And we're hoping to put in a fair amount of trails in here, and that's our goal of the next 10 years. All compartments are going to be monitoring species at risk, monitor wildlife with remote sensing cameras and maintain a list about that, environmental protection and removal of invasive species. So if we see common buckthorn coming in here, it should be removed by proper practices. Things like other like dog strangling vine. This should be removed if we find it. So definitely surveillance of invasive species like Norway maple, and identifying them and removing them so that the original forest is not damaged. So as you can see here, there's lots of different compartments and plans here. So here in compartment H1, I'll be putting in about 10 to 25 maple syrup taps. In these 3 compartments here, I'm going to be harvesting some firewood and building material for personal use. And it's really good as they put a lot of links for resources for us. Be monitoring wildlife, installing duck houses and things like that. So I think that's pretty cool. And maybe we'll do some beehives in the future as well to help with the flowers and pollination in the area. So to remain in the program at year 5, we have to record and submit what we've done so far and any changes to our 10-year plan. So our foresters included a report of activities, a list here. All you have to do is do the measurements, year you completed it, your activities, and the compartment with which you participate in those activities in. So this winter or early spring, when I do my maple syrup taps, I just let them know how many taps I put in, maybe how many liters of maple sap that I removed. And, it's really easy, really. You just have to make a list of what you did. At the end of the 10 years, certainly you want to submit a report, and you have to let them know that you want to continue on in the program. And we certainly will do that as long as we own the land. The MFTIP program, it is transferable too if you sell your land, so that's an added feature as well. Well guys, that's the MFTIP program for you. It's going to be well worth it, giving back to this environment and keeping it healthy. And then at the end of the day too, we get a tax break. So I think it's the OMNR's basically secret program. Not a lot of people know about it, but I wanted to tell you about it. If you're in Ontario, I certainly would take advantage of it if you meet all the requirements. And if you want more information about it, you can go online at www.ontario.ca/MFTIP, and you should be able to get all that you need to know about the program. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week as always, and we'll see you again. Take care.